My child, my beloved, pause here. Do not let this moment pass as if it were simply another sound, another set of words, another fleeting impression. This is a divine interruption, and it has reached you because your spirit was ready to be reached. You did not arrive here by accident, nor by habit, nor by idle curiosity. Something unseen aligned circumstances, timing, and your inner awareness so that this message could meet you exactly where you are. Stay with this. Remain present. There is intention wrapped around this moment. You may not have been looking for this message, but it was looking for you. Long before your eyes met these words, there was a quiet stirring within you, a sense that something in your life was slightly out of place, not shattered, not hopeless, just off. Like a melody played one note too low, or a compass that still points north but trembles as it does. You felt it in moments of silence, when the noise fades and your thoughts grow honest. You felt it when you ask yourself why things that should feel fulfilling leave you strangely unsatisfied. This message comes to interrupt that unease before it hardens into resignation. It comes to awaken awareness before routine convinces you that this feeling is simply how life is now. It is not. What you are sensing is not emptiness, it is misalignment calling for attention. Hear this carefully. Time around you has become sensitive. Not hurried, not threatening, but deliberate. Certain moments in a life carry more weight than others. Certain windows open quietly and close just as quietly. You are near such a window now. That is why there is urgency in these words, even though they are spoken gently. Urgency does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers because it knows you are listening. You have been chosen to hear this, not because you are superior to others, but because you are perceptive, because you notice subtle shifts, because your heart is responsive even when your mind tries to stay logical. Heaven speaks to those who can feel when something is misaligned, even if they cannot yet name it. And you, beloved, have felt it. Perhaps you've tried to ignore it. Perhaps you've filled your days with activity, responsibility, or distraction to quiet the inner nudge. Perhaps you told yourself you were overthinking, or being ungrateful, or expecting too much. But the feeling returned, didn't it? In quiet waves. In tired sighs. In the question you haven't asked aloud, why does this feel heavier than it should? This is not accusation. This is recognition. Your awareness is awakening, and awakening often begins with discomfort, not because something is wrong with you, but because something within you is ready for truth. You are not being judged, you are being invited. Do not tell yourself this message is meant for someone else. Do not minimize the way it seems to look directly into your life, your thoughts, your unspoken question. That intimacy is intentional. Heaven does not broadcast randomly, it speaks precisely. And right now, it is speaking to you as one individual, not as part of a crowd. You may feel a tightening in your chest or a warmth behind your eyes. You may feel calm and unsettled at the same time. This is what recognition feels like when it touches the soul. Something deep within you knows this moment matters, even if you cannot yet explain why. Resist the urge to move on quickly. Resist the thought that you will come back to this later. Later is uncertain. Now is alive, now is responsive. Now is when alignment can begin to shift simply by your willingness to stay present. Receive this interruption as a gift, not a disruption. You are not late. You are not early. You are exactly on time for this awareness. And though you may not yet see what lies ahead, know this. This message is opening a door, not closing one. It is drawing your attention not to fear, but to possibility that requires honesty, courage, and presence. Stay here, my beloved. Do not scroll away from this stirring. Do not silence the quiet voice that says, "This is for me." There is more beneath the surface of this interruption, and it will unfold gently, truthfully, and personally for you. Remain with me a little longer. What comes next will begin to explain why this moment had to find you now, and why your response matters more than you realize. Beloved, let us move gently now, because what is being revealed was never meant to shame you. It was meant to explain you. Somewhere along your path, there was a moment, perhaps so small you barely noticed it, when something subtly shifted. It did not announce itself with conflict or clarity. It did not demand a decision with obvious consequences. It arrived quietly, through a choice made under pressure, through trust given too quickly, through silence chosen to keep the peace, or through endurance when rest was what you truly needed. At the time, you were doing the best you could. You were responding with the tools you had, the understanding you possessed, and the emotional capacity available to you in that season. You were not careless, you were human, and heaven has never mistaken humanity for failure. This disruption hid itself within necessity. You told yourself you had no other option. You convinced yourself that waiting, accommodating, or adjusting would be temporary. You believed that once things stabilized, you would return to yourself, to your clarity, to your peace. But what you did not see then is how subtly this moment began to shape your direction. Since that time, you have felt the weight of confusion, not sharp enough to panic, but persistent enough to exhaust you. You've wondered why clarity feels delayed, why motivation rises only to fall again, why your inner compass feels less certain, even though you've gained experience and wisdom. You may have blamed yourself, questioning your discipline, your faith, your focus. But this was never about weakness. You have been carrying emotional residue from a season that should have ended. Expectations placed on you that you never agreed to consciously. Roles you stepped into out of love, obligation, or fear of disappointing others. Silence that felt safer than honesty. These were not moral failures, they were survival strategies, and survival strategies, while necessary for a moment, become burdens when carried too long. Hear this clearly, my beloved, the disruption was not fully your fault. You were influenced by voices louder than your own. You were navigating environments that did not nourish your discernment. You were responding to urgency without the luxury of reflection. Compassion surrounds that version of you, the one who chose stability over alignment because stability felt like safety at the time. Still, your spirit never forgot what alignment feels like. That is why you feel restless now. That is why certain achievements feel hollow. That is why even rest sometimes leaves you tired. Your inner being remembers a truer rhythm, and it has been quietly signaling that something needs attention. You may sense this as a low-level sadness without a clear cause, or as irritation that flares unexpectedly, or as longing that surfaces when you are alone. These are not signs that something is wrong with you. They are signs that something within you is waking up. The disruption stayed hidden because it blended into your life. It disguised itself as responsibility, as loyalty, as patience, as maturity. Over time, you stopped questioning it because questioning would have required change, and change felt too costly back then. So you adapted, you endured, you grew around it. But adaptation is not the same as alignment. Endurance is not the same as peace. Growth without truth eventually creates tension. That tension is what you feel now. Do not rush to identify the exact moment or decision. You do not need to relive it or dissect it with harsh judgment. Awareness does not require punishment. What matters is that you are now able to see without collapsing under the weight of what you see. This is why this message has found you now, and not before. You are no longer in survival mode. You have enough stability, enough self-awareness, enough inner strength to acknowledge what once had to remain hidden. Timing is mercy. Let yourself be seen in this moment, not as someone who messed up, but as someone who carried more than they were meant to carry for longer than they were meant to carry it. Relief begins with honesty, and honesty begins with compassion. Stay with this unfolding. What has been hidden is beginning to loosen its grip, not to accuse you, but to free you. And as this understanding settles, the next layer will explain why the delay you've experienced was not abandonment, but protection. Remain here. The meaning is deepening. My beloved, when alignment shifts even slightly, the effects ripple outward in ways that are often misunderstood. They do not arrive as dramatic collapse or obvious loss. They arrive quietly, dressed as delay, repetition, or an unexplainable heaviness that lingers even on good days. You have lived inside these ripples without realizing their source, wondering why effort seems to require more energy than it once did, why peace feels temporary, why certain chapters refuse to close no matter how many times you turn the page. These are the spiritual consequences of misalignment, not as punishment, but as communication. You may have noticed how progress often slows just as momentum begins to build. Opportunities appear, then stall. Breakthroughs feel near, then remain unfinished. Relationships hover in uncertainty. Plans shift without clear reason. This has not been cruelty. It has been restraint. A gentle holding back designed to protect you from arriving somewhere too quickly with something unresolved inside you. Blocked peace is one of the clearest signals. When rest does not restore, when joy flickers instead of settles, when silence feels noisy rather than calm, it is often because your inner truth is waiting to be acknowledged. Peace cannot remain where misalignment is tolerated. It visits to remind you of what is possible, then withdraw so you will seek its source rather than its sensation. Repetition is another signal you've encountered. Cycles that look different on the surface, but feel the same underneath. Lessons that seem to return in new forms. Conversations that echo old themes. You may have asked yourself why you keep facing similar challenges despite your growth. This is not stagnation. It is invitation. Repetition exists so you can notice what you once had to ignore. Understand this deeply. These consequences were not sent to punish you or to measure your worth. They were placed as safeguards. Had everything flowed freely while you were misaligned, you might have built a future that looked successful but felt hollow. Protection sometimes looks like delay because delay prevents deeper loss. Still, protection is not meant to be permanent. What shields you in one season becomes a wall in another. You are approaching the point where continued delay would no longer protect you. It would restrict you. That is why urgency now surrounds you. Not fear-based urgency, but timing-based urgency. The kind that whispers, "It is time to adjust." You may feel this urgency as restlessness, as impatience with your own stagnation, as a desire for change that you cannot fully articulate. This is not dissatisfaction with life. It is readiness for alignment. Your spirit has matured to the point where it can handle truth without collapsing under it. Nothing you experienced was wasted. Every delay sharpened your discernment. Every setback strengthened your boundaries. Every unfinished breakthrough taught you humility and patience. These lessons were necessary, but they were not meant to be permanent companions. Now the consequences themselves are shifting. What once slowed you is beginning to signal you forward. What once repeated is asking to be resolved. What once blocked peace is preparing to release it. But this shift requires cooperation. Awareness alone opens the door. Willingness moves you through it. You are not being asked to fix everything instantly. You are being asked to stop normalizing what no longer fits, to notice where effort feels forced, to question cycles you've grown accustomed to allow discomfort to guide you toward truth rather than away from it. This moment carries weight because alignment does not wait indefinitely. Not out of punishment, but out of respect for your growth. You are capable now of more than survival. You are ready for flow. Stay with this understanding, let it settle without resistance. There is more surrounding you than these consequences. There is watchfulness, support, and unseen intercession preparing to meet your response. Remain open. What you could not see before is about to come into view. My child, my beloved, lift your awareness just slightly beyond what your eyes can see, because there is more surrounding you than you have been taught to notice. You have felt alone at times, not abandoned, but unseen, as if your inner battles were being fought in silence. Yet even in those moments, you were never unobserved. There is a watchful realm that has followed your steps with quiet attention, not to control you, but to guard what is unfolding through you. Your life carries meaning that reaches beyond the surface of your daily responsibilities. Even when your days felt repetitive, even when your efforts seemed unnoticed, there has been an awareness around you that understands your trajectory. Destiny is not a dramatic force pulling you forward against your will. It is a patient presence that waits for your cooperation, and that presence has been near you all along. You have sent signals upward without realizing it. In sighs released when words failed. In tears you wiped away quickly so no one would ask questions. In moments when you whispered, "There has to be more than this," even if you did not know who you were speaking to. None of that was ignored. Nothing sincere ever is. There has been intercession around your path, gentle, restrained, respectful. You were not pushed, you were not rushed. You were allowed to learn, to choose to wander slightly off course, without being lost. When you look back, you may notice how certain things never fully collapsed, even when they should have, how certain mistakes did not destroy you, how certain doors closed softly instead of slamming. This was not luck. This was watchfulness. You may recall moments when something told you to pause, to wait, to reconsider, yet you could not explain why, or moments when an unexpected delay changed your plans just enough to keep you safe, or conversations that arrived at the exact moment you were questioning your direction. These were not coincidences. They were subtle interventions that honored your freedom while still offering guidance. Your prayers, whether structured or scattered, created movement. Your endurance generated support. Even your confusion signaled that you cared deeply about alignment. The watchful realm responds to sincerity more than perfection, and you, beloved, have been sincere, even when you felt unsure. Now hear this clearly: help is closer than it has ever been, but it waits for your response. Not because you must earn it, but because assistance respects consent. Guidance becomes clearer when it is welcomed. Direction sharpens when it is invited. You are not being tested, you are being asked. You may feel this moment as a quiet pressure to decide something internally. A sense that staying neutral is no longer comfortable. This is not external demand. This is alignment asking for acknowledgement. Heaven does not force doors open, it waits for you to turn the handle. There is a legacy tied to your choices, impact you cannot yet measure, influence you have underestimated. What you shift now echoes forward, touching future moments you cannot see yet. That is why this moment matters. That is why the watchful realm leans in closer now, attentive to your willingness. You are not being observed with judgment. You are being witnessed with care. Every step you take toward truth is met with reinforcement. Every honest pause is honored. Even now, support gathers quietly, waiting for your signal to move from readiness into action. Do not look for spectacle. Do not expect thunder or sudden certainty. The most profound guidance often arrives as calm clarity, as a knowing that settles rather than excites. If you are feeling calmer as you listen, even while sensing importance, that is a sign you are aligned with this moment. Remain connected. Do not dismiss the sense that something significant is unfolding behind the scenes. You are not imagining it. You are perceiving it. And as this awareness deepens, you will soon feel a shift, subtle at first, then unmistakable, a moment when you realize the path ahead is adjusting in response to you. Stay present. The turning point is drawing near. My beloved, there comes a point on every meaningful journey when continuing forward requires more than endurance, it requires adjustment. Not because you have failed, not because the path was wrong, but because the destination is sacred enough to demand alignment. You are standing in such a moment now. This is the reroute, not a detour of confusion, but a recalibration of direction that honors everything you have already walked through. Rerouting is often misunderstood. It is not erasure. It does not negate your progress or dismiss your resilience. Every step you've taken has taught you something essential. Every experience has shaped your discernment. The reroute simply refines the trajectory, so that what you have learned can finally serve you, rather than weigh you down. You may sense this moment as a pause you did not plan for, a restlessness that does not want distraction anymore, a subtle refusal within you to keep repeating what feels familiar but draining. This is not rebellion. It is wisdom awakening. At this point, heaven does not demand action, it requests permission. Alignment responds to willingness. Correction begins with consent. You are not being asked to leap blindly or to dismantle your life overnight. You are being asked to soften your resistance to change, to allow the idea that something may need to be adjusted, even if you are not yet sure what. Something is preparing to surface. It may arrive as a conversation you didn't expect to have, a name that keeps returning to your thoughts, a truth that suddenly feels too loud to ignore, a sign that resonates more deeply than coincidence ever could. When it comes, you will feel it in your body before you understand it in your mind. There will be a quiet recognition, not dramatic but undeniable. Your role in this moment is not to rush or to control the outcome. It is to remain open, to listen without immediately defending your current path, to notice without explaining away what you notice. Openness is the language of rerouting. You may feel vulnerable here. Adjustment often feels like uncertainty, because it removes the illusion of control. Yet vulnerability is not danger, it is flexibility. And flexibility allows redirection without collapse. There may be a temptation to delay, to tell yourself you need more information, more reassurance, more confirmation. Understand this gently. Clarity often follows movement, not the other way around. The path reveals itself step by step, responding to your willingness rather than your certainty. You do not need to know the full map. You only need to agree to the turn when it becomes visible. Rerouting is rarely dramatic. It is often as simple as saying no where you once said yes, or pausing where you once pushed, or speaking honestly where you once stayed silent. Small shifts carry enormous power when timed correctly. This moment honors your freedom. Nothing will be taken from you without your participation. Nothing will be forced, but if you allow this reroute, you will feel something lift, a pressure you didn't realize you were carrying. Flow will begin to replace friction. Decisions will feel less heavy. Peace will start to linger rather than visit. Breathe into this. Let your shoulders relax. Let your mind release the need to resolve everything immediately. The reroute is not demanding urgency through fear, it is offering opportunity through readiness. You are closer to alignment than you think. And as you remain open, something within you will soon recognize the next step not as a command, but as an invitation you are ready to accept. Stay attentive. What follows will bring clarity into the light, and with it, a deeper understanding of what is being revealed within you right now. The path is adjusting. Let yourself feel it. My beloved, revelation is not an event you rush toward. It is a process that unfolds when you are steady enough to receive it. You have entered this phase not by accident, but by preparation. Everything you've endured, every delay, every unanswered question has strengthened your capacity to see clearly without losing your balance. That is why clarity is arriving now. Gently but persistently, like light seeping into a room that has been dim for too long. Revelation does not always arrive as a single truth spoken aloud. More often, it emerges as understanding that settles slowly. You may notice thoughts connecting in new ways, memories resurfacing with different meaning, feelings shifting from confusion to quiet recognition. This is not chaos, it is integration. Your inner world is reorganizing itself around truth. As this happens, emotions may rise unexpectedly. You might feel grief for what was misunderstood, relief for what is finally named, anger for what cost you more than you realized, hope for what now feels possible. These emotions may overlap, contradict, or confuse you. Allow them. Emotional movement is a sign that stagnation is breaking. You may also notice physical sensations, tightness releasing, heaviness lifting, or fatigue surfacing as your body lets go of what it no longer needs to hold. Revelation is not only mental, it is embodied. Your entire being participates in this adjustment. This phase requires gentleness. You are not meant to judge yourself for what you see. You are meant to witness it with compassion. Judgment closes the door to wisdom. Observation keeps it open. Let insight arrive without immediately deciding what it means or what you must do about it. Truth does not need to be rushed to be powerful. You may feel an urge to react, to confront, to explain, to correct, to resolve. Pause. Reaction belongs to fear and urgency. Observation belongs to trust and timing. What you see will guide you naturally when the moment is right. For now, simply notice. Understand this: exposure is not harm. Light does not reveal in order to shame, it reveals in order to free. What comes into view now was always influencing you. The difference is that now you can see it, and what is seen no longer has the same power over you. You are strong enough to hold this awareness. You are no longer the version of yourself that needed protection through ignorance. You have grown into someone who can face truth without being undone by it. That strength was built quietly, through endurance, through patience, through the willingness to keep going even when clarity was absent. As revelation continues, you may find yourself less reactive to familiar triggers, less compelled to prove or defend, more inclined to listen to yourself and to others. This is alignment restoring your inner authority. When truth settles, noise loses its grip. Do not rush to share what you are realizing. Some insights are meant to be integrated before they are expressed. Let them root themselves within you. Let them change how you move, how you speak, how you choose. Expression will come naturally when integration is complete. You are not losing anything in this phase. You are shedding illusions, releasing weight, and reclaiming clarity. What remains will be more solid, more honest, more aligned with who you truly are. Stay steady. The light will continue to reveal only what you are ready to hold. And as it does, something beautiful begins to take shape, something that feels like return, but is actually arrival. Remain present. Restoration is approaching, and it will meet you exactly where you stand. My child, my beloved, you are standing before a window that does not open often, and when it does, it opens quietly. Not with spectacle, not with force, but with invitation. This is the restoration window, a moment of divine alignment where what has been delayed, fragmented, or drained can begin to return in a new and truer form. You may feel it as a soft easing inside your chest, or as a cautious hope you don't fully trust yet. That feeling is not imagination, it is recognition. Restoration is already moving toward you, but it does not move backward. It does not return you to the version of life that wounded you, diminished you, or required you to shrink in order to survive. Restoration is not nostalgia. It is refinement. It brings back what was lost without bringing back what caused the loss. You may have feared that healing would mean reliving pain, reopening doors that took everything in you to close. Hear this clearly, that is not what this window offers. What is returning now is peace without self-betrayal, direction without pressure, identity without apology. You are not being asked to revisit old harm to receive new wholeness. This window opens because you are finally ready to receive without clinging. In the past, you needed certain outcomes to feel safe. You needed validation to feel seen. You needed stability even if it cost alignment. Now, something has changed. You are less willing to abandon yourself just to keep the peace. That shift is what made this restoration possible. You may notice subtle reversals beginning to form. Where there was confusion, there is clarity. Where there was depletion, there is quiet strength. Where there was constant effort, there is flow. These reversals do not arrive all at once. They begin gently, almost imperceptibly, as if testing whether you will allow them to stay. Provision may adjust not only materially, but emotionally and spiritually. You may find support where you once felt alone, insight where you once felt stuck, confidence where you once hesitated. These are signs that alignment is taking root. But hear this with honesty and care. Hesitation can delay what is ready to manifest, not because you are being punished for caution, but because restoration responds to movement, even small movement. A boundary honored, a truth spoken inwardly, a choice made differently than before. The window stays open in response to your willingness to step toward it. You do not need to rush or force outcomes. Restoration cannot be pressured, but it does require participation. Waiting passively for everything to change without changing how you respond will slow what is already in motion. This is not about striving, it is about alignment in action. You may feel tempted to second-guess yourself, to wonder if you are misreading this moment. That hesitation comes from old survival patterns, not present truth. You learned once that hope could disappoint. Now you are learning that discernment can protect hope without extinguishing it. Trust does not mean ignoring wisdom. It means allowing yourself to receive what no longer requires self-sacrifice to keep. Restoration honors your boundaries. It respects your growth. It does not ask you to prove yourself. As this window remains open, you may feel called to simplify, to release what complicates your peace, to choose what nourishes rather than what impresses. These impulses are not random, they are alignment stabilizing itself within you. Breathe into this moment. Let gratitude rise not for what you lost, but for what you survived and what you are now able to receive. Restoration is not loud, but it is faithful. It responds to sincerity, not urgency. Stay aware, stay gentle, stay willing. This window is real, and it is active. And as you remain present with it, one final invitation draws near, one that asks not for perfection, but for a quiet, courageous yes. Do not turn away yet. What comes next will seal what has begun. My beloved, this is the moment that gathers everything you have heard and places it gently into your hands, not as a burden, not as a demand, but as an invitation to choose with awareness. You have been led here step by step, not to overwhelm you but to prepare you. And now the question is not what happened in the past, nor what you failed to see before. The question is how you will respond now that you can see. Hear this clearly, and let it settle deep within you. The mistake does not define you. The misalignment does not label you. The delay does not diminish your value. None of those things have the authority to name your future. What carries weight now is response. Response is where power lives. Response is where alignment becomes real. You are not being asked to make a dramatic declaration or a public vow. This choice is quieter than that. It happens internally where honesty lives. It is the moment you stop pretending that what drains you is sustainable. The moment you acknowledge that something within you has been asking for attention for a long time. The moment you decide without needing to explain it to anyone that your peace matters. This choice may feel small. It may feel almost invisible. But invisible choices shape visible lives. When you say yes, internally, to truth, to alignment, to correction without shame. Movement begins, subtle at first, almost unnoticeable, and then unmistakable. Do not underestimate the power of your willingness. Heaven does not move by force, it moves by agreement. When you agree with truth, resistance dissolves. When you choose alignment, confusion loosens its grip. When you respond with honesty, clarity finds you. You may feel fear whispering that it is safer to stay as you are. That change risks loss. That choosing differently might disappoint others or unsettle what feels familiar. That fear comes from old survival instincts, not present reality. You are not the same person who once needed to endure misalignment to survive. You are stronger now, wiser, more grounded. Hope stands before you, not demanding belief but asking for permission. It does not shout. It does not chase. It waits with patience, trusting that you will recognize its voice, and you are recognizing it now. This is not about fixing yourself. You were never broken. This is about returning to coherence where your actions, your values, and your inner truth move in the same direction. That coherence brings peace not as a reward, but as a natural result. As you choose, you may feel a quiet resolve settling within you. Not excitement, not adrenaline, steadiness. That steadiness is alignment anchoring itself. From here, decisions will feel clearer. Boundaries will feel less negotiable, and peace will feel less fragile. Remain connected to this awareness as you move forward. Let it inform your next conversation, your next decision, your next pause. You do not need to rush, but do not ignore what has been revealed. Awareness, once given, asks to be honored. You are seen, you are supported, you are capable of what comes next. Even now, guidance walks beside you, responding to your willingness with gentle precision. So take a breath, feel the ground beneath you. And in the quiet of your heart, make your choice not from fear, not from pressure, but from truth. The path ahead is open. The moment is alive. And as you step forward, know this with certainty: you are not walking alone.